In this video, we're going to talk about adding and subtracting fractions, and these fractions don't have a common denominator. So our first step is going to be to rewrite both of our fractions with a common denominator. We're going to use the principles that we talked about in the last video when we found the least common multiple between two numbers. That's going to help us to find the least common denominator. Okay, so as you look at problem number 1, you've got 3/10 plus 1/2. 10, as you know, is 2 times 5. And then, of course, we have 2, which is already prime. And so definitely here we can see that 10 is the least common multiple between 2 and 10. Now, you probably knew that without doing the work that we did in the last video, and that's okay. So we just need to then change the 1/2 to have a common denominator of 10. So let's see, let me rewrite. So we have 3/10 here plus, and then we have this 1/2, and we need to change its denominator to a 10 denominator. And we know that we're missing a 5, right? So 2 times 5 is 10. And so what we're going to do is anything that we do to the denominator of the fraction to make it be the 10, we have to also do to the numerator to make an equivalent fraction. So here we have that we have 3/10 plus, and then our new equivalent fraction, which is 5/10. And now we're going to add the numerators, which is 8, and keep the 10 denominator as we did in our previous work. And then we're going to reduce this to lowest terms, which is 4/5. Okay, so let's look at number 2, where we have denominator of 6 and 15. You may know already what the least common denominator is between these two, but if you don't, I'm just going to remind you that you can do the prime factorization. So 6 is 2 times 3. 15 is 3 times 5. So I'm going to line up those 3's. And I just put these little bubbles here to remind me that I'm missing that factor. And then our LCD, or our least common multiple, or least common denominator, we're going to take 1, 2, 1, 3, and 1, 5. So our representative from each column, the highest exponent, the highest power you see in the column. And so what is that? Well, that's 6 times 5, or 30. So our common denominator is 30, and we're going to change both fractions. So the 6 needs a 5, and we're going to also multiply the numerator by 5. And the 15 needs a 2. By the way, you may have noticed that what's missing, what I used to build these denominators here in the blue ink, are the bubbles, are the missing bubbles. So the 6 needed the 5, right? That's where the bubble is. And the 15 needed the 2. That's where this bubble is. And that's exactly what I'm multiplying by. Okay, so if that helps you. So now here we have 5 over 30 added to a negative 2 over 30. And we keep the denominator of 30. And then we're going to do 5 plus a negative 2, which is a positive 3. And this, once again, this reduces by 3, doesn't it? So we end up with 1/10 as our simplified fraction. In problem 3, we have two negative fractions, denominators 14 and 6. So again, just going to do this prime factorization work here. 6 is 2 times 3, and 14 is 2 times 7. So no 3, but it's got an extra 7, right? And so that tells me that our LCD is going to have 1, 2, 1, 3, and 1, 7. And that's 6 times 7, or 42. So 42 is our common denominator. We're going to change both fractions to a 42. So I'm leaving some room here. The 14 was missing the 3. See, remember that's where the bubble was. So numerator and denominator will get multiplied by 3. The 6 was missing the 7. So that's where I'm going to put that there. Okay. So here we have a negative 3 over 42 plus a negative 7 over 42, which gives us a negative 10 over 42. And that reduces by 2. So we have negative 5 over 21 as our simplified answer. So here's our next problem. We have 3/4 minus 5/7, right? And so 4 is 2 times 2, 2 squared. And 7 is prime. Bubble, bubble, right? Okay, and so we're going to need one of each. So the LCD here is found by just multiplying the 4 times 7, and that's going to happen when the original denominators have no factors in common. So notice when we set up our columns here, there were no overlapping numbers, right? So they had no in common factors. And when that happens, then you can just multiply 4 times 7 to get the LCD of 28. Okay. So I'm rewriting here. And again, the 4 was missing the 7. Numerator and denominator get multiplied by 7. And the 7 is missing the 4. So we have what? 21 over 28. Subtract 20 over 28. 21 minus 20 is 1 over 28. Okay, I hope these are feeling a little bit more friendly for you. Okay, what have we got here? We've got a 9 and a 12. So 9, we know that's 3 squared. 3 times 3. 3 squared. 12. So 12, if I do a little tree, hang on. 12 we know is 3 times 4, right? 3 times 4. So, and 4 is 2 times 2. We know that. So 12, let's see here. Let me move over the 3. So no 2's for the 9, but 2 3's. And then 12 has 2 2's and 1 3. Okay. And so the LCD is going to need the 2 squared from here and the 3 squared from there, because we take the highest power we see in the column. Okay, so 2 squared times 3 squared, which is 4 times 9, which is 36. So our common denominator is 36. Let's change the 4 9's. Now here we have subtract a negative. Subtract a negative. So do you remember from our last video that we can add the opposite? So we change the subtraction symbol to an addition, and then we change the sign directly following to its opposite, which is positive in this case. Okay, and now the 9 was missing the 4 to get the 36, right? So we're going to multiply by 4, and then the 12 is missing 1 3. Okay, because look, the 12 has a 3, and our LCD has 2 3's in it. So the 12 is missing 1 3. So we're going to multiply times 3. Okay, just like that. All right. So now we have 16, positive 1636 plus, and here we have positive 2436. And so this is 4036. Let's see, and that has a 4 in it, doesn't it? 4. That reduces to 10 9's. Okay, and again, this is an improper fraction. So check the directions of the problems that you're working on. If they want this changed to a mixed number, then you're going to do a division, right? You're going to divide 9 into 10. 9 goes in 1 time with a remainder of 1. So we rewrite the fraction 1 over 9. So 1 and 1/9. So mixed number 1 and 1/9, improper 10/9. In our last problem, we've got denominator of 16 and a denominator of 6. Okay, 16. Okay, so 16 is 2 times 8 which is 2 times 4, which is 2 times 2. So 16 is 2 to the 4th. There's 4 of these 2's. All right. And then 6 is 2 times 3. So our LCD is going to have 4 2's and 1 3. Is that what you thought too? So our LCD has 4 2's, 2 to the 4th times 3. 3 to the 1st. 2 to the 4th is 16. 16 times 3 is 48. So we have an LCD of 48. Okay, let's change those fractions. Let's get rid of this. We have negative 13 16ths. And then we have to subtract a negative again, right? And let's change those signs. So add the opposite. Okay. And then the 16 was missing the 3. So times 3. The 6 to get to a 48, that's missing 3 of these 2's, which is an 8. See, because the 6 has 1 2 and our LCD has 4 2's. So it's missing 3 2's, which is 8. 2 to the 3rd is 8. 2 to the 3rd, that's an 8. Okay? All right, so hope you followed that. So here we got what? We have negative 39 48ths plus, and then here we have 24, positive 24 48ths. And so our answer is going to be negative, and it's a negative 15 48ths. And 3 goes into both of these numbers. So we have negative 5 16ths as our final answer.